We'll call the meeting for Tuesday, February 20th, 2007 to order. Will we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Roll call, Tracy.
Mrs. Arbogast is absent. Garnos.
Here.
Gisselbeck.
Here.
Heller. Johnson.
Here.
Meisenheimer.
Here.
Solberg. Walder.
Here.
Mr. Wilson is also absent. Mrs. York. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Item number 1 is approval of the minutes of the January 24th and February 5th council meetings. Is there a motion, please? So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Heller. Are there any additions or corrections to the January 24th or February 5th council meetings? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 2 is ordinance number 07-01, amending section 15.0603, providing for exceptions to the South Dakota Plumbing Code to allow for the use of cross-linked polyethylene pressure pipe within the city. And Ken?
Well, this is the second reading, and there's no other further action unless anybody has other questions. I mean, I did bring a piece of this in case anybody even knows what it is. It's just a white plastic pipe that's going to replace the copper. Still going to have brass fittings and a couple of different kinds of collars. But so if
Okay,
there's any other questions.
I'll open up to a public hearing, and Ken, would you like to give a little explanation for it then?
Well, basically, this is back to the original thing. As we took had a request from Public Works last spring, summer, and we took it before the area plumbers, the licensed plumbers in the city of Watertown. I think there were 16 of them that I contacted, and 14 of the 16 have all required and were requested to go to the new plumbing fixture. We have the Watertown Home Builders Association is completely in favor of it, and then I still get a call about once a week asking how soon it's going to be put into place. So,
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak to the issue? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and go to council action. May I have a motion to approve ordinance 07-01?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any further questions or discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to add, Mayor, that I've personally taken a couple phone calls from plumbers who had some pretty difficult projects. Had they had the ability to use PEX piping back when they were doing those projects, it would have been a substantial savings to those homeowners that had to do it the old way. So, everybody that I've heard from are certainly in favor of making this change.
and we are the last city in South Dakota that's adopting it.
Thank you, Ken. Anybody else have any comments? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3 is ordinance number 07-02, amending section 17.0503, revising the liquid waste disposal coupon provisions. And Mike Berger?
Yes, thank you. What prompted this is staff had recently noted that the ordinance 170503 still states that the liquid waste hauled to the wastewater treatment facility fee is $32 per 1,000 gallons, although Resolution 0468 adopted by the City Council on December 6th, 2004 changed the rate to $34 per 1,000 gallons. And of course, we've been charging the correct rate, but there's an inconsistency here, so we recommended modifying this language to strike the part where it states what the fee is and how it's calculated, and just adding language to set it per the existing resolution. And then in the future, if fees change again, we won't have to deal with the ordinances, just a resolution.
Is there a motion then for the approval of ordinance number 07-02?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Garnos. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mike. Item number 4 is ordinance number 07-03, amending the Title 21 regulating zoning and subdivision. And Sarah?
Good evening. The changes to Title 21 in this ordinance were initiated by staff, and they're primarily in a housekeeping type mode. There are 4 sections that we're offering changes up definitions, the height and placement table, garages for residential structures, and parking lot screening. And I'll run through those quickly. Starting with definitions, we had some ordinance language which was recently adopted, which referred to legal non-conforming buildings, and we didn't have that definition, so that's a brand new definition. A building which does not comply with all of the regulations of this ordinance or any amendment hereto governing area and bulk for the zoning district in which such building is located, but which was constructed with a lawfully issued building permit. This definition shall not be deemed to include structures for which no building permit was issued or obtained. Just make that clear. We have in our definitions different types of lot lines, but they're not all listed, so I wanted to make a complete list. Lot line corner was under corner lot, so I'm just referring back and forth. Lot line front wasn't given, and that's the lot line separating a lot from a street right-of-way, except at Lake Compesca and Lake Pelican, where the front lot line is the ordinary high water mark as established by the state. And that is referred to in the height and placement table, but it really does belong with the definitions too. And then the last definition is specific use office buildings. That definition exists, but it's misleading. When you see that, you don't realize that there are a lot of restrictions that go along with specific use office buildings. And I wanted to clarify that so that you see that in the ordinance. It's only allowed on US Highway 81, Highway 212, and South Dakota Highway 20. And there are other limitations also which are listed in section 21-2115. Any questions about definitions? Okay, on the height and placement table, we had R1, R2, R2A, R3, and R4 all listed together in the table, leading you to believe that everything underneath that applied to those, where actually the R2A has its own subsection, as does R4. So I struck those from the top listing, and then the R4 wasn't actually called out below, but I labeled it as such, and the R2A was already labeled down below, just to clarify that those other things don't apply to the R2A and R4. And then the note at the bottom has said on corner lots in all residential districts, 2 front yards are required. And we've actually been using that in all types of lots, not just residential lots. Corner lots in the commercial district, they have a different side setback than they have a front setback. And so if you had called one of the streets a front and the other one a side, you'd have that structure jutting out from in line with the other street. And so we wanted to clarify that applies in all zones, not just residential zones. So the word residential was struck. Any questions about that? Okay, further down, talking about garages in residential zones. We're accepting the multi-family home garages from the maximum size of 30 by 36 because that just isn't big enough for apartment buildings. And it's not clear from the way it was written that you wouldn't be able to build anything larger. So we accepted that. And then finally, in the parking lot screening requirements section, we had some misunderstandings. Actually, staff had a different understanding. Different people read that differently. So we wanted to clarify that the 4 feet they're talking about for height of a screen is a minimum. And we crossed out shrubbery and replaced it with the word hedge, which is defined. Shrubbery is not. And added in that the screening is maintained in such a manner as to not material impede vision at intersecting streets, alleys, and driveways. And those are all the changes.
Thank you, Sarah. I'd like to open this up to a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this issue? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and go to council action. May I have a motion then for the approval of ordinance number 07-03? So moved by Alderman Heller. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Sarah. Item number 5 is ordinance number 07-04, deleting section 21.5023 and amending section 21.5024, regulating the installation of minimum subdivision infrastructure improvements. Stanton?
Thank you, Mayor. As I mentioned during first reading, this ordinance is before you based on the direction that was given to me by the Plan Commission. In effect, it's going to add another arrow to the city's quiver when it comes time to doing subdivision improvements. Currently, there are a couple ways under the ordinance that the subdivision improvements get done. Either the developer does them, or they provide the city with a letter of assurance promising that they're going to get done. This is going to add an additional arrow in the quiver that's going to say there are circumstances under which the city can require a developer to post an irrevocable letter of credit. It's done all over the country. It's simply a line at a bank that in the unlikely event a developer weren't going to hold up their end and make improvements within the time that the city establishes, the city can then go cause those improvements to be done and draw on the letter of credit. So again, it's another arrow in the quiver. I think that everyone agrees that it's something we want in the box just in case we ever need it. The circumstances under which the city will require it, I don't think have been fully worked out, but it is a tool that we wanted available at our disposal. So with that, we'll open the hearing. If you got questions, please ask.
If not, then we'll go to council action. Is there a motion for the approval of ordinance number 07-04?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Stanton. Item number 6 is the Eastwoods 10th edition. Sarah, you'll lead us through that.
Eastwood's 10th edition tonight, we have the annexation resolution, and I would recommend that you defer action on that until the next council meeting when we're having the second reading and public hearing for the zoning. Just put those two together and then
Okay.
they'll be on the same path. The Eastwoods 10th is owned by Joy Nelson and Peggy Haugen, and it's approximately 4.4 acres and 11 residential lots. They're requesting all be R1, single family residential. And the property you see on the map here, it's located north of 12th Avenue North along the northerly extension of Cherry Street. And this is all in Eastwood subdivision. This would be 14th Avenue North and 19th Street East. And this is the site here. We're working on the plat, and we expect the plat to be approved administratively. And since we're doing an administrative plat, you won't see it necessarily, neither will the Plan Commission. And so we've added some new language. For some reason, the annexation, or one of the, I believe it's actually the zoning ordinance, didn't arrive in your packet, so I printed one out for you. It's at your seat. And we actually are working on the language there that we would add to reflect the condition that platting is occurring, even though you're not seeing the plat. And the way that we've done that, if you look toward the bottom, it says, I'm reading ordinance 0706, which is an ordinance amending zoning district boundaries by establishing zoning designation of R1, single-family residential district, for certain real property annexed into the city in the northwest quarter of section 28-117-52. And we're saying that we'll do that rezoning, but there's a condition that it be platted. And we're saying that the ordinance shall automatically become null and void if for any reason the plat of Eastwood's 10th edition has not been recorded within 1 year of the effective date of this ordinance. In reality, since the annexation refers to the plat, if it's not platted, we can't record the annexation. So they need to happen together. And that's the safeguard there. What they're proposing is completely in line with the master plan that's been approved for the subdivision. And So staff does recommend approval, but again, I'll say you can defer that action until the next council meeting.
Okay, anything else then, Sarah?
Nope.
Is that it? Okay. Item number 7 is the vacation of utility easements in Block 1 of Meadow Glen. That's Resolution 07-12. We'll begin with the public hearing, and Sarah, you'll lead off the public hearing.
Yes, this property is owned by Watertown Christian School, and they want the vacation so that they can build over it. They want to build a gymnasium onto the school. And the property is located north of 12th Avenue North and east of Broadway, the northeast corner of the intersection. Is it shown on this map? This would be Broadway, and this is 12th Avenue Northeast. And their school is right here. As you can see, the school's already built over part of the easement, right here. There's a gas main in this part of the easement. That's a live gas main which goes up, continues up into the neighborhood. They want to build this spring. Obviously, we're not going to allow them to build over a live gas main. Municipal Utilities has agreed to abandon that main. They'll first cap it off north of where they want to build and then reroute their gas service to the building. And they'll do that as soon as the ground is good for that in the spring. So the vacation may be approved, but we wouldn't publish it until that work has been done, so that we're not, abandoning an easement over a live gas main. So staff recommends approval of Resolution 0712.
Okay, we'll, is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak to the issue? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and go to council action. May I have a motion then for the approval of Resolution 07-12?
So move.
So moved by Alderwoman York. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Giselbeck. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 8 is the vacation of 5th Avenue Southeast near Highway 212. That's resolution number 07-13, and we'll begin with the public hearing. And Sarah?
This property is owned, well, actually the property north of 5th Avenue is owned by CAM Development Group, and they wish to vacate the street because it's currently being used for parking, and they have recently requested a special exception to move Willow Creek Liquors, which is across the street and a little bit to the east, into this existing building. And the Board of Adjustment heard their request for a special exception, and they see a parking problem there. And we see a safety issue. As it is, 5th Avenue Southeast comes down to its intersection with Highway 212, and there are two ways to get onto the highway. There's one right here, and then there's another one right here with an island in the middle, and then they're parking in the right-of-way over here. They do need that parking. We didn't want to tell them they couldn't have it. We can see that the vacation would be a benefit for safety reasons, because right now that's a very confusing intersection. And we'd like to see that curb cut closed to the highway. So although the vacation of the street was not made a condition of the special exception because of the timing and their financing, they agreed to do it. Staff recommends it and wants it done. And so we left it at that at the special exception hearing. They did get their special exception. In looking at the process of vacating, we discovered that there's a gas main in the street, which isn't a problem for parking over. So we would, of course, Municipal Utilities wants an easement. They've written up an easement, and they would like it signed as a condition of vacating the right-of-way. And also, we want to see that curb cut closed, and what that means is bring the curb all the way between the two islands that are there, so that you physically can't drive there anymore. And there, as you probably can't see from this picture, but there's grass and sidewalk in this little island here, which is a bigger island. It's a smaller island over here with sidewalk and grass too, and curb. Both have curbs, so we'd continue the curb over. We'd continue the sidewalk and grass just to blend those two together. We want that to be a condition of the vacation. We discovered that there were 2 signs in the public right-of-way, and we're making the condition that those signs be moved out of the right-of-way and out of the site triangle so that they're, you know, not just moving them into a place that's going to block your vision of the intersection. And also, if you see on the resolution, the legal description of the land that's being vacated is cumbersome. We'd like that replatted so that it's one big lot and not these numerous lots here and then this kind of ugly looking legal description. So the staff recommends the vacation with those conditions which are listed on your vacation, on the resolution.
Okay, is there anyone else to speak to the issue in the public hearing? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and go to council action. May I have a motion then for the approval of resolution number 07-13?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Johnson. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further questions or discussion?
Yes, I have
Yes.
one. As chairman of the safety committee, you mentioned several times this is a safety issue. We are here for hearing things like that, so we would appreciate, and I think I speak for the rest of the safety committee, we would appreciate having things like that brought to us before they're brought to the council.
Okay, sure.
And Sarah, for clarification, Fifth Avenue would still have a way to get onto.
Right. You see the red triangle?
Yeah.
That's the portion that would be vacated. That leaves 60 feet of opening that we could build for Fifth Avenue.
For further clarification, what Sarah's pointing out is where the hand is that's where the street actually is. The portion to the east are actually 2 curb cuts, which makes that whole access situation complicated. When we spoke with the DOT, they were certainly in favor of eliminating the access that would go onto the state highway. And Mrs. York, we would have been very happy to bring that to the safety committee. However, there hasn't been a safety committee meeting for.
We certainly would have had one if there'd have been any agenda items.
Okay.
I didn't cancel, it wasn't canceled by the committee, it was canceled by the mayor for lack of item.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, then all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is consideration of bids for purchase of 50%. Mike, you're going to have to help me. Is that sodium hydroxide?
Yes.
Chemicals for the wastewater treatment facility. Mike Berger.
Thank you, Mayor. Bids were opened at 10 a.m. on Thursday, February 8th for the 50% liquid sodium hydroxide, which is the chemical used to maintain the pH of the wastewater flow above the effluent limit of 6.5 while our consultants complete the long-term pH control study. 2 bids were received, and we recommend awarding the bid to the low bidder, also our current supplier, Univar, in the amount of $1.95 per gallon supplied in totes and $2.15 per gallon supplied in 55-gallon drums. Prices include freight. And this comes with the approval of February 13th Public Works Committee.
Is there a motion then for the approval of the Univar bid? So moved. So moved by Alderman Heller. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 10 is consideration of bids for the construction of the 2007 Special Assessment Street and Alley Improvements. Dave Peterson.
Good evening. Bids were opened on February 9th for the 2007 Street and Alley Improvements Project. We had one bidder, that being McLaughlin and Schultz of Marshall, Minnesota and Watertown. The bids for project number 701A, we had on the petition that the estimated amount per linear foot was $16 to $19 per foot. As calculated from the bids, the price turns out to be $17.44, so that's within the estimated amount. On project B, that was estimated 17 to 20, and it came in at 1872. D was estimated 20 to 23, and it came in at $20.64. And E was estimated at 40 to 45, and that's the only one that was outside of the estimate. That was at $46.12. We did send letters out to all of those property owners along that road this past week, and we haven't heard back from any of those property owners to date. This was recommended for approval by the Public Works Committee, and it comes to you with our recommendation for approval.
Is there a motion then for the approval of the construction bids? So moved by Alderman Heller. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Dave. Item number 11 is authorization for the mayor to sign a development agreements with property owners for the First Avenue North Extension Project. Stanton?
Thank you, Mayor. You can see that we're also going to take some action further down the agenda in item 14 with regard to this project, but the agreements are going to be similar to that which you approved back when we were developing the Walmart property. We're going to spell out the obligations of both the city and the property owners that are going to abut the First Avenue North Extension project. We're still in the draft stages, but all of the terms and the language is going to be similar to that which you saw in the January 25th letter that was sent to the 3 property owners that abut the proposed road expansion. It includes the requirements or the city's obligation with regard to plating, rezoning, the triggering of the assessments, when they're going to be due and payable back to the city, the interest components that's going to attach to the assessments. All of those things are going to be spelled out, including the obligation of the property owners to convey to the city temporary construction easements. It's going to be included. All that level of detail is going to be included in there. What we want to do is, because we anticipate this happening, hopefully coming together fairly quickly, we'd like to have the mayor's ability to sign the agreements once they're ready, when they're ready for ink, and that way we can keep the project moving forward. Of course, once they're signed and finalized, we'll distribute copies to all of you, and the terms are going to be nearly identical to those which you saw in the January 25th letter, as well as all the conversations we've had during the executive sessions.
Thank you, Stanton. Is there a motion then for the authorization for the mayor to sign the development agreements?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 12 is the approval of a support for the tax credit application by the South Dakota Housing Authority for Habitat for Humanity project. Becky Horthouse.
No, Schlotterbeck now.
Schlotterbeck now? You
Yes,
got married. Okay.
I did,
All right.
December. Habitat for Humanity is applying for South Dakota Housing Development Authority loan to build a single-family house this summer. The South Dakota, this loan requires approval from the city council.
And of course, the city as a council isn't obligated for the
No,
loan.
it's
just
Habitat loan.
okay.
Yeah, we are
Is there-
applying for it.
All right, very good. Is there a motion then for the approval?
So move.
So moved by Alderwoman York. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Garnos. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. There you go.
Thank we bought a couple lots. The lot 6 and block 2 of Westview 3rd Edition is what we're planning on. We have 2 lots, so that'd be one of them.
Where is that exactly?
Westview 3rd Edition, over by the
airport.
yeah, over
on
by the
far
airport,
west
Humane
side
Society around in there.
Thank you very much. Item number 13 is authorization to advertise for bids for the landfill compost pad rehabilitation project. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to request permission to advertise for bids for the 2007 compost pad rehabilitation project. This pad was designed and constructed to divert the compost runoff to a lined pond to prevent the runoff from seeping into groundwater or impacting stormwater. Once the runoff is captured, it is either used to water the compost rows, facilitating the composting process, or it's trucked to the wastewater plant for treatment. Currently, the older portion of the pad has settled and cracked, and as a result, can be trapped and ponded in areas where it might get through a crack in the asphalt to groundwater, or it may flow off the pad in certain low areas and then impact stormwater. We've budgeted $218,700 for the engineering and construction of the project and have been awarded a 50% grant up to $109,000 towards the funding of the project. And so I would like to move forward with advertising, and this does come with the approval of the February 13th Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a motion then for the approval of authorizing advertising for bids?
So moved.
So moved by Alderman Giselbeck. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Johnson. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mike. Item number 14 is authorization to advertise for bids for the First Avenue North Extension project. Stanton, that's just to continue to keep the project going forward, right? Okay. May I have a motion then for the approval to authorize to advertise for bids for First Avenue North Extension project? So moved by Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman Garnos. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 15 is approval of Aaron Swan and Associates to conduct asphalt testing for the airport runway project. Herb, you were going to discuss that?
Thank you, Mayor. The city received 3 bids for asphalt testing for the runway project, which is included in the federal funding for the project. There's a copy of the Helms recommendation included in your council packets. 3 bids from Aaron Swan and Associates, Midwest Testing Laboratories, and Tetra Tech Incorporated. The low bidder was Aaron Swan and Associates in the amount of $14,700. That fell well below the projected budget estimate of $25,000. This project is AIP eligible, so the city's portion of the total cost would be 3% or $750. Therefore, I'd request the council's authorization for the mayor to enter into a contract for this testing with Aaron Swan and Associates for $14,700. This comes with the Public Works Committee recommendation for approval from the February 13th meeting.
Is there a motion for the approval of Aaron Swan and Associates? So moved by Alderwoman Walder. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Johnson. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 15 is council acknowledgement of a notice to conduct a raffle by the Mount Olive Lutheran Church Youth Group, and I believe they'll be offering a quilt. So if I could have a motion then to acknowledge that raffle. So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 17 is consideration of a request to extend time period for compliance with the residency requirement for Patrol Officer Jeremy Wellness. Chief Vitek.
Mayor, I can introduce this one. And I
Yes,
know
I'm sorry.
If you do have
Tracy?
questions, Joe will certainly try to answer them, I'm sure. The city ordinance requires full-time city employees to reside within a certain distance from the city. Jeremy Wellnitz is a relatively new patrol officer. He was hired in August and previously lived in Clark. He's been trying to sell his home since he was hired from the city and has not been able to do that. He has requested an extension. And under our ordinance, it's up to the Civil Service Board, or at least part of this is their domain. Their responsibility is to set the reasonable time period within which employees must comply with this requirement. And many years ago, the Civil Service Board set 6 months as the standard. When this request was presented, I did contact the Civil Service Board, and they have recommended granting a 6-month extension with the condition that the city does revisit its policy and maybe make some slight modifications to the language in our policy to provide for circumstances such as this that would allow under the policy extensions to be granted. So they are recommending that. In addition, the Finance Committee met this afternoon, and one of the items on our agenda was this request, and the Finance Committee recommends approval as well.
Is there a motion then for the granting of the request for the extended time period for compliance? So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second? seconded by Alderman Meisenheimer. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next is the open, and if you refer to your handout, we have 2 items on the open agenda. Number 1 is authorization for the police department to participate in MetLife Foundation grant program. Chief Vitek?
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is the 6th annual year that MetLife Foundation Community Police Partnerships Award has been available. We're requesting authorization to apply for the grant. The amount we're asking for is $15,000. The purpose of this is to assist us with some of our youth programs that we have. In particular, one is Camp Chance, and then another program that we're initiating this year is with our middle and high school students. The acronym we come up with is LOCK, standing for Law Enforcement Officers, Community, and Kids. So we're just requesting permission to apply for the grant.
Is there a motion then to authorize the police department to participate in the MetLife Foundation grant program? So moved by Alderman Garnos. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief Vitek. Item number 2 on the open agenda is request for contingency account budget transfer of $4,000 to fund roof repairs at the Senior Citizens Center. Herb, would you like to lead us off?
Certainly, Mayor, thank you. The Senior Citizen Center approached us late last week with a request to repair a couple of roof drains on the center that are bad and need to be replacing. They're leaking around the drains, as I understand it. And we're here tonight on more of a probably emergency request as much as anything versus waiting for another Public Works Committee meeting and another council. There's also a need to have a plastic drain pipe removed in the kitchen area and then to have a new pipe installed that would in turn run to the outside of the building and actually hook to a downspout. The estimate that was provided from a local contractor to have the work done was for $3,640. I'm here to request your authorization for a contingency transfer not to exceed $4,000 to get this work done. This does come with the Finance Committee's recommendation for approval from this afternoon's meeting. I do see there's members of the Senior Citizen Center here in the audience in case you have questions for them, and with that, I'd turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Herb. Is there a motion then to grant the contingency account budget transfer of $4,000 to fund the roof repairs at the Senior Citizen Center? So moved by Alderwoman Walder. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Garnos. Any questions or discussion?
Just one comment, and that is, during our discussion this afternoon, I asked about the overall condition of the roof, and I believe we don't really know the total condition of that, so when we're doing these repairs,
I had Kelly.
do you want to step up to the mic?
This leak has been going on since last fall, and we haven't had anybody that will go up and look at it. Kelly Malin worked for ProTech and put that roof on 15 years ago.
Okay.
He says there's nothing wrong with the roof, but where the drains come down in the roof into the building to go in this plastic pipe, that steel is rusting out, and he's going to put new ones on there, and then he's going to take this rubber hose that you can put a clamp on and clamp them, otherwise they're leaking. And it's ruined the south side of the kitchen wall in the senior citizen part. So
He also
he
said-
says there's nothing wrong, just needs some maintenance.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you both very much for coming tonight. Going back to the agenda, we'll move to item number 19, which is old business. There's no old business to come before the council. Item number 20 is new business. Is there any new business to come before the council? If not, item number 21 is liaison member reports. Are there any member reports?
I got one. On the Watertown Transit, they're in the process of getting ready to be able to haul Medicaid participants. And this service is going to be announced in the near future and stuff. They're also planning this summer to have several pickups in the city to pick up kids to take down to the swimming pool. And then the other thing is they're talking about having to take the youth out to the municipal golf course. And they operate from 6:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night, except on Saturdays it's at 8:30 till 4:30. And we got 5 buses and 1 van now.
And how's the new building working out?
Hey, beautiful, beautiful, man, yeah.
Good.
Good deal.
Any other reports?
Not necessarily a report, but Mayor, I believe that you were contacted this week by a representative, I believe, of Mr. Thune's office regarding the funding for the Watertown Flood Control Project, and if you could give us a little bit of a report on that.
Right. As we remember last year, Senator Thune had placed into the federal budget for, I believe it would be this year, that would fund $400,000 to the Army Corps of Engineers to continue on with the reevaluation of the data from the flood. And I was contacted last week by his staff member that apparently what was put into the budget was considered. Herb, could you help me with that term that they use?
What was put into the budget was an earmark, and
It was an earmark, and all of the earmarks got pulled out of the budget. Therefore, ours did too. And so where we're at right now is another year behind. Hopefully we're not through where, Senator Thune continued to, say that he would, put this in the budget and that next time. But again, this time, all of the earmarks were eliminated from the budget, and so we're just another year behind, I guess, so.
That 400,000 essentially would have kept the flood project moving ahead one more year, and then there would be some additional funding beyond that would be necessary. I would just encourage everybody that's interested in making sure that this project moves ahead, that they contact their delegation, Thune's office, as well as Johnson and Herseth, and let them know this remains a priority to us, and that they continue to work diligently to get it firmly in the budget.
Yes, and of course, right now, going forward, we have the new FEMA flood map, which will be taking effect in June, is it?
as we understand, we should see some sort of notification, I would believe, yet this month or very, very soon, that will announce that approximately 6 months from the point in time when we receive that notification, the map would become effective. So we're talking the July, August time frame is my guess at this point. But yeah, that's a reality. We will see a new map, and our the flood insurance will increase dramatically.
Thank you, Herb. Okay, we will need to, item number 22 is we need to go into executive session to discuss some contract negotiations. We will be taking action when we come out of executive session. And so if I could have a motion, please, to go into executive session. So moved by Alderman Solberg. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderwoman Walder. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We will go into executive session. From the council to allow the Stanton to enter into to renegotiate with the union contract with the FOP, a memorandum of understanding to switch shifts. Is there a motion to that effect, please? Did I say it right, Stanton? So moved by Alderwoman Walder. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further questions or discussion?
I think the motion should be to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement that Stanton and staff negotiates.
Yeah,
That's correct.
In effect, we're going to open up the collective bargaining agreement with the FOP for the limited and exclusive purpose of allowing us to enter into a memorandum of understanding that will provide the union, the covered employees, flexibility in trading shifts.
Okay. There was a motion then for that by Alderwoman Walder and seconded by Alderwoman York. Any further questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. I have a motion for adjournment. So moved by Alderman Meisenheimer. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Solberg. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned.